So my client got offered $100 million dollars from a private equity firm. A couple of weeks ago, I was working with a customer named James, and James is a startup founder, and he has been in business for quite a while and has been relatively successful. And recently, he was offered a $100 million line of credit from a private equity firm. But the challenge for James is he had never really raised that large of money, and especially in the form of a line of credit from private equity. Lines of credit, we're all used to the idea of those coming from a traditional lender, but what about private equity offering a line of credit? So James wanted to work with me, and one of the things we did is we sort of stepped through the various things that he needs to think about, the questions he needs to ask that investor when it relates to that money to make sure that he's getting a really good deal. So today what I'm going to share with you is the 5 different categories that I outlined for James to ask questions, and I'm going to share some of the questions within each of those categories. At the end of this, you're going to want to check the description. I'm going to put a link in there. I've got a link to the entire swipe file with all of the questions that I prepared, so 50 plus questions that I prepared, and you can use these if you're a startup founder to make sure that you're negotiating well with potential investors. So let's jump into it. The first thing we focused on was investor background and experience. You want to make sure that the investor has a background that aligns with yours. So you want to ask things like, how long has their firm been around? Are they a company that's been investing in startups for 20 years? Have they been doing this for 2 months? That really matters. How big is the fund? How much money did they raise? This matters because if you're raising, call it $100 million like James, and their entire fund is $100 million, then that's a lot of concentration for them, and that should be scary for you as a founder. But if the amount that you're raising is only a small portion of their entire fund, that's a better thing. Also, you should be asking them about their similar experience. Is this the first time that this PE firm had offered James $100 million? Maybe, maybe not. But you need to make sure that this is something that they're used to doing and that they're used to investing in an industry like yours. The next category that we got focused on was strategic alignment. So one question to ask to potential investors is, why me? Why us? Why my startup? What is it about us that has you so interested in investing? Where does this investment fit in your entire portfolio and your strategy? If they've never invested in a medical technology company like another customer of mine that I'm working with, and suddenly they're asking to invest in a med tech company, doesn't really align with their investment thesis, and they may not have the expertise to help you in the first place. So make sure there's alignment there. You could ask them things like, how do you see current market conditions and competitive landscape? Make sure that they're in touch with those types of things and that it aligns with how you see the current landscape. Ask what they think about your business model, and hopefully they'll give you legitimate feedback. Here's one of my favorite questions in strategic alignment. Let's assume that something goes wrong in our relationship. If that occurs, what happened? We call this doing a pre-mortem, and that's a great way to understand the things that could go wrong that could make this investor unhappy. The third section is financial terms and offer details. So some of the things we asked is, when can I expect to see a term sheet? When an investor is interested in investing in you, they should provide you a term sheet with the terms of that potential deal. Are you investing money from a fund or borrowed money? So particularly in James' instance, if it's a $100 million line of credit, do they have that much in their fund, or are they borrowing some money to do it? That can change how they react in different circumstances. You want to ask things like, is the investor asking you to sign a personal guarantee? That's very common when you're getting a loan, but from investors, it's less common. But there still are some who will ask a founder to sign a personal guarantee, meaning the founder will make sure they get paid back if something goes wrong. You never want to sign those if you can help it. I highly advise against it. The fourth section is investor expectations and relationship. So ask them, what are your expectations for this investment? What type of return on investment are you looking for? Are you looking to 200x your investment, which is hard? Or maybe they're more reasonable and they're looking to 10x their investment. You want to make sure you're aligned there. Ask them their preferred method of communication and how often they want updates from you. So maybe they want a monthly update from you as a founder. Maybe they just want a quarterly update. Is that via an email? Is that via a video like this? What method are they looking for? What reporting requirements will they have? So what hard data reporting requirements are they going to be expecting from you? Because candidly, managing investor relationships takes time and it's not always easy. So these are the types of things you should think about. The last section we outlined, which may not be accurate for everyone, is what I called a legal and compliance section. Not as many questions were here, but things like, what legal documentation will be required to close this transaction? Are there confidentiality requirements? And if there are potential conflicts, this is usually outlined in legal documents, how will those be addressed? What states' laws are going to apply? Those are all the questions you should be thinking about. There's 50 plus questions on this document. You can get it absolutely for free. Again, I'm going to put a link in the description of the video where you can go and download it. You can go to this same location and download all kinds of other free templates that I've produced along the way. Things like competitor research, all those types of things. Go check it out. Lots of free resources. But the key to this is making sure that you understand that as a startup founder, you're going to get peppered with questions from investors. That makes sense. They're giving you a lot of money. You should be interviewing investors just as much, if not more so. What you want is a nice strategic alignment, strategic expectations, aligned expectations from everyone. Making sure that an investor is right for you is very important, because otherwise you're going to have a really tough road along the way, and managing investor relationships when they go south gets messy and it gets distracting. It's not good for anyone. Take your time, make sure the investor is right for you. These questions can help you do that.